Excuse me, as a member of the public, I've just got an issue I'd like to bring to your attention. I'm not expecting an answer today, but this is in relation to Kent Police, where they've failed to report a crime. They've told me I've got to report it to the PSD for failing to report the crime. I've also filed a data subject access request, and the data subject access request is completely ignored. Matthew Scott has been receiving the emails, but they're failing to report a crime.
Can we hold Mr. Matthew Scott here, because
we've got a question.
Matthew Scott, we need you yet. You're not done.
Mr. Sander, we will get it on public record. We work with many of the police crime panel meetings. You have got taxpayer money. Civilians are not being kept safe.
That was a strategic move that you made by skipping C to go to D, to come back to C, to quickly shut it down. You're denying members of Kent to actually have their voice. Everything we're hearing within here is all lip service. Matthew Scott saying since 2016 I've increased the amount of police officers on the street. Well, pro rata in 2016 the population of Kent was substantially lower than what it is now. So it's pro rata. It stands to reason there's going to be more constables. So him making out that he's done a great job by putting more police on the street is a moot point.
So, can I get that? Mr. Sander, thank you for letting me speak, even though the Crime Commissioner has run off with the tail between his legs again. Mr. Scott was brought in by the Police Reform Social Responsibility Act. The police work under the Home Office counting rules. The Home Office counting rules on fraud are substandard. There's a quango in Glasgow called Action Fraud. They do not take sufficient evidence or summary to process fraud or prima facie evidence. Mr. Scott has failed to use his powers to correct and remove failing police leadership. He has failed to modify the police crime plan. There is dereliction of Mr. Scott's duties, core duties, to prevent and reduce crime. Thus, we are here at this police crime panel. We've written to yourself, we have written to Mr. Scott, and all that happens is any complaints go into PSD and we get blocked. Evidence is blocked. There is applicable failure. There's several points, and thank you members for staying here. We are the public. We are taking an interest, and thank you for taking an interest in us. But the applicable failure in policing framework, one, serious organised crime. Here you've got the Fraud Act 2006. You've also got POCA 2002. Police are helping with unlawful evictions by not investigating the frauds. What is then happening is police are assisting in violent evictions. I had a heart attack as police stood there. The police put drone footage, so the police are holding drone footage of police criminality, which they won't release to me. We've also got, this brings in abuse of police powers, point 2, and thank you again for staying there. Abuse of police powers, which is Criminal Justice Courts Act 2015, Section 26. Corrupt and improper use exercised by police powers and privileges to assist bankers, bailiffs, locksmiths, not only to assist them, but to take orders from locksmiths to force entry, which is unlawful. They're not allowed on a civil eviction to force entry into a residential property. There is a lot of footage, and you will get Mr. Scott come to the tea party and tell you how wonderful things are, and it isn't. He's marking his own homework. Banks are monetarising this. I've just lost a £500,000 property, and I've had the fraud covered up by Kent Police for the last 12 years. I was an industry stakeholder advisor on property fraud and money laundering, and had adoptions with HMRC and Treasury and NTC Act trading standards. Evidence is being suppressed. When victims are then taken from their home because police have acted willfully blind, take your pick, malfeasance or non-feasance. What is then happening, the victim is then being told, you've assaulted an officer or something, even when it hasn't happened. We are then placed on bail and we're told you cannot have the evidence. The police, I am suing Essex Police at the moment. I work with an ex-senior police lawyer. We work with the wonderful Anthony Stansfield. the ex-senior police crime commissioner on fraud, who put 6 bankers in jail. Mr. Scott is protecting them by not holding the chief to account. I've got a couple more points here. The Criminal Law Act 1967, Section 4.1, assisting offenders evade arrest and prosecution. What do you think happens when the police conceal evidence and they don't take out the prosecutions? The victims get dragged through the civil courts, their money goes. Police are acting criminally. You've also got misconduct in public office, willful neglect of duties to the public, which includes Mr. Scott. You've got human rights abuse. Articles 3, 5, 6, 8, 13, Protocol 1, Article 1. You've also got GDPR breaches. So by concealing evidence, the police, allowed by Mr. Scott and by you guys, if you don't hold Scott to account, you've got GDPR Part 3, concealment of data. If you get criminals working in the police and they cover up these frauds and so on, the frauds and crimes go on. Victims then get dragged into criminal courts at the cost of public again.
Who is a member of the council that can be consulted with in relation to the conduct of the police? Is there anyone that you can signpost us to be able to sit down and have a meeting? Because this isn't ideal for us to... We thought we was going to have an opportunity as members of the public to actually put the questions to Mr. Scott. Wasn't expecting any answers, but in a constructive way for someone from the council, because my understanding is that these are all representative of the constituents of Kent. There's got to be someone, an in-between barrier between the council and the police, because the police are blocking every single avenue to try to ask questions, down to a simple data subject access request. The PSD, the IMU, police reporting, they're ignoring all communication. So there's got to be someone within the council as a representative. Helen Grant is no help. Well, I've already been to her for nearly a year, and she said it's not out of her jurisdiction, she can't deal with it. So there's got to be a step within the council for us to be able to sit down and have this discussion and conversation with, for someone from you to be able to put it to Matthew Scott. If you're not, Matthew Scott isn't taking it directly from us. So there's got to be a chain of custody or command where at least we can get our voices heard. Where is that? Where do we go?
Does it make sense that this is actually heard? And thank you again for you that have stayed here, not for the ones that have gone.
We're not here to cause any disruption. We're here because we have valid issues that we want to raise, and they need to be heard. Our voices should be heard. They shouldn't be silenced.
I mean, even if you go back in our Constitution, you've got Magna Carta 1215, and Article 45 says officers of the law, sheriffs, should know the law and uphold the law. When I had an officer phone me yesterday, Mr. Mealham, are you coming to the police crime panel meeting? Yes, I am. Will there be many of you? I don't know. Probably a few others. But the thing is, we're here because the law's not working. Matthew Scott will cream coat it. You've also got to ask, he's a Conservative. If you look at the Lloyds Bank fraud, you've got Lord Lupton. He was the Conservative Treasurer. His personal bank, Greenhill & Co., was taking the distressed engineered asset stripping and selling them on Cerberus. Cerberus is not accountable, it's a vulture fund. That is billions of pounds. This is breaking people. I'm aware now of 94 suicide attempts. Some of these are children. I am living at the moment, I've now left a 5-bed detached in Ashford that my family lived in for 17 years, engineered default by Lloyds Bank. We're living in a caravan at the moment until April, and that's thanks to the poor performance of people like Matthew Scott.
It isn't the poor. It isn't. This is the organised crime.
Stolen.
On the 17th of January, you had 50 police constables, a bronze commander, silver commander, gold commander, armed response, tactical unit, undercover, 2 police drones by the police watch. There was 130 people. They shut my whole road off at 6 o'clock in the morning while the police stood by and watched a locksmith petrol cut my metal gate off and then smash through my bifold double double glazed rear doors at my property, for the police to then come in and say, Toby, you're arrested for an allegation of criminal damage, which turned out to be a £50 padlock from 10 months before. I then found out it was called under Operation Zloty, where the police, the bailiffs and security met up at 4 o'clock in the morning as a joint venture enterprise to come and steal my property. They held me in the station for 12 hours, released me. I got back home. There's a 7-foot fence, 15 Eastern Europeans outside with 24/7 police protection outside my home. There's been my home for 49 years. My grandparents bought it in 67. So you tell me that there isn't a joint venture for an investment for the police earning funds. My mortgage account went up by over £500,000. That is because of all the police have actually gone to the bank. Now the police are getting paid privately by the bank to secure and protect the property. If the bank had a rightful position to take my property, why did they need a 7-foot fence, 15 Eastern Europeans and 24/7 police protection? If everything was done legally and lawfully, there wouldn't need to be a fence, because as soon as I stepped foot over the property line, I'd be arrested and put in prison. But it wasn't. That was evidence and proof to all my local community to show that this is a bit more deep-rooted than just a house eviction. This was a joint venture enterprise. I have tried to file the crime report. I've been ignored. I've tried to file a complaint to the PSD for the police failing to initiate the crime report. Look at it logically. The police are not going to take a crime report down from me reporting the crime of unlawful illegal eviction when the police are complicit and assisted the unlawful eviction and possession of my home. It's even down to the basic of a data subject access request. Blank all year since January this year. This is a breakdown in the police. This is organised crime by Kent Police, and this is what they're doing is setting a standard now where the police are now clearly aiding and abetting and assisting the banks and the bailiffs in to take people's properties. And it needs to be looked at.
Toby mentioned about a padlock, why the police came for him. Toby was actually a displaced occupier, so that's grounds to actually re-enter his property. But the padlock, let's talk about the property that the padlock was on. It was a lady called Sheena. Now that lady had stage 4 cancer, and we had police there assisting bailiffs drag that poor lady out.
She was bedridden, stage 4 terminal cancer, and the police assisted bailiffs breaking into her house and dragged her out of her bed down the street and threw her out on the road. Well, mortgage is all paid for.
We went back later, the mortgage was paid for, and that was council tax as well.
Yeah.
What happened later, the community got together and we got Sheena back in her house. Why should we, the public, be fighting with authorities that are using our taxpayer money against us? You shouldn't be giving Matthew Scott more money for officers on the street who don't know the law. They don't know the law. We've had 1 or 2 cases where we go along and there's a senior police officer, and some of those guys are good. They do know the law. They know about liberty of the subject, 1354, and due process. I was evicted. There was a live appeal in. I was beat up. I had 5 thugs put their knees on my back. I was nearly killed. Lloyd's had a private ambulance out there. They only stopped when my son walked in. The police were there in attendance, and that was GBH on me. And now I've tried to get the data, the drone footage, which shows forced entry, which is unlawful. We've tried to get the body-worn cam, and the police won't give it to me. Your police are protecting their own, and that's not healthy for the public. Thank you.
Can I just start? Is there anyone we can speak to after this? I really respectfully want to know why it is that you went round and told all the councillors about them leaving. Why when we were speaking?
First of all, thank you very much for coming today. And secondly, thank you for respectfully allowing us to have the meeting. I sense your frustration. I'm a politician. I work in the charity sector. Obviously, colleagues here are elected members. Honourable majority have gone. If you was asking me, you was asking me if there's got to be a middle way how we can move forward. See, my advice, honestly, to you would be that in the first instance to go through a member of parliament, and I think you mentioned that in Parliament.
Yeah. So, for the last since January.
If people come to see me sometimes, not just that, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know the ins and outs of everything, but generally, if somebody was to come to see me, that would be my first point of call.
So if we've done that, can we then... I've seen Sojan Joseph. Sojan helped as much as he could, and he said pretty much to say he's getting closed down.
Hold on, let them speak.
All I was going to say was the other option, obviously, in terms of locally, will be maybe to speak to your local councillors. But beyond that,
I've spoken to Faye Gooch, who was the Maidstone Borough Council's police liaison officer. I actually went to her house and I spoke to her for about an hour about this, and I emailed her, communicated with her. She come back and said, sorry Toby, I can't get involved.
So that's beyond that, in terms of asking me personally, that I just haven't got the experience or the knowledge or the skill set, but it doesn't mean that you just give up from...
But you've got to hold Matthew Scott to account. He's got to put a workable police crime plan, which he hasn't got.
So obviously all the members here today have put their questions, which have all been advanced to Matthew Scott, so he can do his homework to read it out his answers.
Say no.
No. Okay, I'll stand corrected. So what my point is, how can we get the question, or to be able to be a part of this as a member of the public, to be able to put our questions?
People are taking their lives over this, and I'm not being funny. Many of the crime panels we go to, and like you respectfully allowed, we said let the crime panel ask their questions and so on, and then we wait, and hopefully we can build a relationship and a rapport like that. But the thing is, if our politicians don't take it forward, if Matthew Scott won't even return responses.
Matthew Scott, when he arrived earlier in the foyer, I said, Matthew, can you please answer, why are you not answering my emails? He just completely ignored me and walked off. He knew as soon as we was going to raise a question, he's walked off again. That is not the action of someone who's supposed to be serving and protecting the people of this community. Why not hear our voice?
I have a paper trail at the moment. One of the guys on my team, and they're all volunteers, people like Anson Stansfield and so on. One of the guys is an ex-police lawyer who was a senior police lawyer, and he ran professional standards for 5 years, and he was number 2 in professional standards for a few years before that. Now at the moment, he is running circles around your police professional standards department, and all your professional standards are doing is digging a deeper hole. That's under Matthew Scott. Now we've brought that. You've got knowledge of circumstance, which is important in law. And if the others are going to run out, look, these are the people that look like they care, you and our 2 friends here. I mean, can we actually build something where we actually can communicate with you and we can get some of these public questions accountable to Matthew Scott? He's not doing his job. Now, I'm aware of 94 people that have gone to take their lives through this. My phone can go anytime. It can be somebody sitting in a lay-by with tablets, and they're going to police forces. They are not doing anything. They are not being held to account. Our angle is, if we go to the police and they cover it up, we go to the crime commissioner. Matthew Scott has been no good for the years he's been in. We've been to him before. But you are listening. You're our route to holding Matthew Scott to account.
What I was again suggest you,
but I have written to you and I've had no response.
Look, my suggestion to you will be, if you're saying you get no response from the MPs, in the first instance,
they're telling us they can't do anything.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, you obviously want a question to be asked here at the panel.
Whether it's us asking it, or whether it's someone from whether it be Ashford Maidstone.
It's not a case of we want a question asked. We want action. We want the guy to do his job, and he isn't doing it.
Yeah, so all I'm suggesting in the first instance, because Faye Gooch obviously isn't a member, Councillor Gooch isn't a member of this panel, is maybe go back to the councillors who are members of the panel and speak to them, see if they are able to, in terms of this context within this panel,
Okay, would it be a case, like, without spamming everyone, if we've got, obviously everyone that's on this panel, their emails are publicly, is to put something out and then to see who would actually pick it up and is actually be interested? Because that seems what it's like to us. It's like to put it out to tender, to see which councillor think, do you know what, they've got a point, I want to support them.
I'm not asking for a tender, because obviously, I'm guessing you mentioned Helen Grant, Council Good, so you must be Maidstone.
Yeah.
So, there's a named representative for Maidstone, it's Councillor Jeffrey. So it may be worth having a discussion with him. And it just happens he's a leader of the council as well. So,
right.
I mean,
could we?
I'm just trying to be constructive.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Chair.
Hold on. Let him finish. Hold on.
So the reason I'm trying to constructive is because I appreciate that you respected the panel as well.
Yeah.
I appreciate you come, and there's. You obviously had very clearly your negative experiences, and you're very articulate. You want to get your point across. Like you respected the panel. That's why we've sat here. We haven't tried to.
There needs to be change.
We haven't. So it's just going back to your initial point where you were saying how can we go to resolve it. That's just my advice.
I appreciate that.
Rather than emailing 20 people, then you contact
Councillor Jeffrey.
Yeah,
I will do. I just all I've wanted with Helen Grant is for a meeting, a workshop meeting for half an hour to go and sit down. I'm getting refused that. So that's a good direction. I'll go to Councillor Jeffries
So have we got, is it 3 members of the crime panel here? No, you're not. We've got 2 good people that have stayed.
Hold on, he's not.
They're obviously doing this for the right reason.
So I'm deputising today. It's my first and my only time here. So the first time I'm deputising for the Chief of Wales.
Right.
I'd like to think he'd be the type of person that would have sat around and listened to what he had to say as well. So, but he doesn't represent, I think, the areas that you come from. The other thing I just want to say from listening to what you said, it seems to me like there's 2 parts of your concern. One is, if you like, excuse please terms, operational things that you're concerned with specific issue cases, and the other one is a strategic change perhaps, or policy change or something. You need to divide it into maybe the reason you're getting shut down is you're combining everything together and it's really complex and messy.
No. Can I give you an example? There's quite a well-known case, Robert White. Now, I sat in the beginning...
Sorry, sir, there's 3 answers there. No, Kevin in a second. It's just that we've got the end about 4 or 5 minutes.
That's fine.
Please,
So there's a fairly well-known case, Robert White, and Judge Griffiths Jones found that the police had acted wrongly. The case came back to court for the next stage, a month or whenever it was, a couple of months ago. And the police officers... It was clear they didn't know the law, but the police officer said, I followed instructions of the locksmith. Do you know how dangerous that is? The UK ratified the human rights. In human rights, you've got Protocol 1, Article 1, right to property. You've got ECHR 8, right to peaceful life. Now, the thing is, for police officers who are an organ of the state that has ratified human rights, to take instructions from a commercial locksmith for a bank to take a property. Do you realise the consequence? Do you realise how serious that is? Because that is the UK state police officer not being trained in the law, because Matthew Scott is not getting these officers trained. So the officer...
Well, it wasn't to take the property. They actually forced entry and tasered him and beat him up.
Yeah, but the thing is, they took the instruction from a commercial entity, a locksmith, who was there to make money in his pocket. And that was supported by the UK government in the fact that it's the UK state. This is state crime. And the guy who should be acting for us is Matthew Scott should say, I've dismissed that many, I've spoke to the chief, we had this issue, and we're actually taking those officers to court because they did harm to the public. He's not saying that. He's saying, it's all wonderful, and it's not all wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate that. Sorry.
Is it all right? Thank you for bringing the case to it's really interesting to hear I know that you hear previously from the previous meeting. I'm more than happy for anybody to email me. I just don't know whether, really, as a representative of Swale, that's appropriate.
I think that's actually perfect, because Robert White's he's on the Isle of Sheppey, funny enough.
Well, in which case, I'm happy to do that, and I will pass it to the relevant people within the council to chat about that. I think the chair's advice to speak to the member from Maidstone is good advice, if that is where you're situated. I'm happy for you to email me. I am a part-time district councillor, just to put in the level of authority that I have.
Brilliant. Sorry, what's your name?
I'd be more than welcome to hear.
Sorry, what's your name?
Councillor Hannah Perkin. My email address
Hannah Perkin. Yes, I'll find it.
But just to put in a level of expectation, I'm a part-time district councillor from a small council, so
perfect.
I work alongside doing all the stuff that I do with council. So just a call for patience, I suppose.
So Councillor Hannah Perkin, and you're Swale. Now, what can a politician actually, what can someone like Sojan Joseph do? Really lovely guy. I've sat down with Joseph at Sojan, but when he takes things higher, he gets closed down. You know, like I say, there's a lot of political influence, I believe, in what's going on with these frauds. And the politicians, you know, you look at the moment, no trial juries for cases up to, 3 years in jail. Before you talk to people like David Lammy, and it's a case of, we can't get involved in police matters. Yeah, I'll tell you what's going to happen. This is the dangerous line. You are going to get people like us that are coming and telling you this, and you're going to get police that are not taken out by people like Matthew Scott, who are going to call us the criminal. We will then be taken in a court. There'll be no jury, and what it will be is we'll sentence this man or woman to 18 months in jail.
It's
that's very, very dangerous.
It's a gagging order.
So what David Lammy is doing at the moment is very, very dangerous. We've got a right to fair trial, and we've got a right to remedy, Article 13 of human rights, and we're not getting this from Matthew Scott. But I see you lot are able to ask Matthew Scott, you're able to hold him to account. Do we need to go through our MP who tells us I can only go so far? Or can we actually, could there be a committee that liaises with the public? Because
this is my point. There's two parts to your argument. One of them is operational that perhaps should come through this route, and the other one is the strategic issue you have fundamentally with the law that should probably go through your MP and the Houses of Parliament.
Fair play.
So breaking that out and constructing well thought through arguments and almost starting again, rather than tell people what the answers are, explain the problem with that problem broken in half.
So when you
may then get a better reception and a better working relationship with the official route that you should be going to. If you take operational matters to your MPs and then shut you down because it should come here, if you take strategic lawmaking issues through this route,
the trouble is using the law. Some of the law is good, like liberty of the subject 1354. There has to be due process, observance of due process 1368. So when a police officer comes along and you say there is an appeal in, there is that, the police should say we're going to step back. They should be there neutral. When the locksmith is saying to the police, smash the door down, that's not policing. The police have to be non-biased. The police have to be... I called police on a High Court judge last October, and the judge went running out the court, and the police were not biased, and it was where the judge was not accepting that evidence had been e-filed, which I could prove. So Article 6, right to a fair trial. So what we're also saying is when the police turn up, they do not know the law. The police do not know the law with bailiffs, locksmiths, and you may get the good officer who says, I want no trouble on either side. The police lawyer that I work with, the retired police lawyer, years ago, he was commissioned with creating a document for fox hunting. And when they created that, there was a reduction of 25% of trouble, because he gave that to the protesters, and he gave it to the police and said, the huntsman, and said, this is the rules. But when the police turn up, they don't know the law, and people are getting hurt. The people paying their tax money are getting hurt.
On that note, we appreciate that you've been very respectful to us, and very respectful to yourself as well. And we need to leave.
Yeah.
That's fine. No,
I know, listen.
we respect that.
I just want to make one